Stop what you're doing and just picture this for a minute. You're running across rooftops on your way to meet someone and hand off a package. You climb up ledges, balance while traversing conveniently laid out pipes, and effortlessly glide across walls on the way to your goal. The light of the sun reflecting off of the windows in the city is nearly blinding. You find yourself at a gap between buildings, looking down into the streets below, knowing that if you miss this jump, you'll die. You push off the edge of the building with your final step, leaping to the other side. Time slows to a crawl. You know you won't make it across. As you fall, you reach out and with all of your strength, hold on to a metal pipe jutting out from the side of the building. And when you feel the cool touch of steel against your hands, you can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Now let me ask, where are you? You're on your couch, the year is 2008, and you just booted up Mirror's Edge on your Xbox 360. Mirror's Edge 1 was developed by DICE and released in late 2008, taking the world by storm. While the game was incredibly short, with the first playthrough clocking in at roughly 4 hours, the impact it made on the gaming industry and pop culture landscape as a whole can't be ignored. Even starting a new subgenre of YouTube videos for video game parkour in real life. I remember watching countless hours of these videos, from Mirror's Edge parkour in real life to Assassin's Creed, and everything in between. Aside from the cultural impact it had as a standalone game, Mirror's Edge was fantastic. While not without its faults, Mirror's Edge successfully blended first-person platforming, combat, puzzle solving, and a unique art style that extended to the cutscenes as well. Faith Connors is a strong protagonist, and unless you're using speedrun glitches, her abilities feel very grounded within the world. It's clear that she cares for her sister, who she spends the majority of the game trying to save, after being framed for the murder of a prominent political figure. That sounds like a heavy story when summarized in a single sentence, but the game never gets bogged down with the specifics, keeping things moving at a breakneck pace for the duration of the campaign. Players are fed the basics, and then they get to focus on the parkour-filled gameplay. It's shown to be a winning formula. Now, I like Mirror's Edge a lot, but the story itself is on the weaker side of things. And if you pay close enough attention, you can sort of see the big twist coming pretty early on. But you're not playing Mirror's Edge for the story. You play for the fast-paced gameplay and the replayability aspect offered by the intrinsic motivation of getting through each level as fast as possible. There's even a time trial mode in the game, but it's separate from the main campaign, which doesn't even have a scoring system in place for how fast you were compared to previous runs or even other players. A video by Leadhead, which will be linked in the description, goes into this aspect of the game a bit more, but the gist of it is, Mirror's Edge is a game that encourages players to replay the game simply through its mechanical foundation being so solid, rather than needing a scoring system to give players that sweet dopamine rush. In other words, the game is just that good. So if Mirror's Edge 1 is so good, what happened with the sequel? Mirror's Edge Catalyst, again developed by DICE, was released in 2016, nearly 8 full years after the original game. While this may sound a bit strange, I like this game better than the first, and I'll get into a few of the reasons why. Many people had hoped for Catalyst to be a sequel to the first game, but DICE decided to make it a complete reboot of the story so that they could focus more on Faith as a character. In Catalyst, players start out as Faith as she's just coming out of what is essentially prison, and in less than 5 minutes, she's breaking her probation and escaping back to the runner's hideout. This introduction to the game does several things. First, it quickly gives players a taste of the parkour. It gets us acquainted with a few of the members of the cast, and even shows off a little bit of the new combat system. While this is all very quickly thrown on the player, I think it acts as a narrative tool, displaying how eager Faith is to get back into being a runner, and also how much the runners care about Faith to send someone to get her immediately after release. The story also has several standout moments with interactions between Faith and others, showing their relationships deepening as the game progresses. One example of this is the conversation between Icarus and Faith at the beginning of the mission titled Thy Kingdom Come, where these two characters who despised each other at the beginning of the game are now coming together to hug and mourn the loss of their friend. Additionally, there's a scene between Faith and Dogen towards the end of the game, and rather than describe it, I'm just going to let it play out.
Celebrity visit.
You gonna break my legs now? Might as well get it over with.
You should finish what you started. Then I can have your legs broken, if you want.
There's nothing to finish! Noah is dead! My mom worked on Reflection, and now my sister works for Kruger. I'm the odd one out.
And the employees are embracing Reflection as if it were a long-lost friend. A new world is coming, Faith. There will be no room in it for me, or you. Unless, of course, we stop it.
We can't stop Reflection!
On the contrary, I heard we can. I had a little chat with your friend Plastic, fascinating girl. She told me we need Kruger's own grid print to proceed.
Yeah, there's no way to get it.
Not even for a top runner? I happen to know that Kruger maintains a private apartment in the View, where you can access the entire Kruger family network.
Break into Kruger's private apartment? There's no way I'd get past security.
I'm sad to see I was wrong about you. You can see yourself out.
Wait, what? That's it?
What else is there?! I once knew a young woman who would defy anyone and anything, even me, in order to do what she felt was right. But you're clearly not her. You're broken. Take the drawing and go. And don't show your sulking face here again.
Since when do you care for what's right?
When it coincides with my interests, why are you still here?
Because you're wrong. I'm not broken.
Prove it.
I will.
As for the free-running experience in the opening scene, it shows that we don't have every move in our arsenal unlocked immediately. Yes, this game has a skill tree, and yes, DICE may have been a bit excessive when stripping back some of the moves from the first game to have players unlock them here in Catalyst. The roll in particular should have been included from the start, but I still like the implementation of the skill tree here overall. It serves the narrative by allowing players' skills to grow and change alongside Faith during the campaign, while on a gameplay level it gives new players a reason to interact with the world to earn skill points, upgrade their abilities, and improve their scores and times in challenges as a result. While I said that Mirror's Edge 1 was so good that it didn't need a scoring system like this, its inclusion in Catalyst can entirely be ignored should players choose to do so. It offers more replayability for the crowd that enjoys time trial type gameplay while not forcing everyone to interact with it. Personally, I don't interact with those systems in Catalyst or other games alike, and I find my enjoyment more in the campaign and side missions. The last piece of this introduction sequence is the new combat system, which is a fair bit different than the first game. In Mirror's Edge 1, players could pick up weapons off the ground or steal them from enemies and use them to fight back. While this was never actively encouraged, ranged combat was an option through the use of firearms. However, in Catalyst, the only option is hand-to-hand combat. This makes combat scenarios much more difficult to deal with, especially early on, but it does tie in with the skill tree, allowing players to put more points into combat skills and become better fighters. Not only that, but the combat in Catalyst incentivizes push-forward combat, similar to the new Doom games, where slowing down will get you killed very quickly. In Mirror's Edge 1, where you could hang back with a handgun and pick off enemies, Catalyst forces players to be constantly moving forward and using their momentum to their advantage, causing more damage to enemies the faster Faith is going. These three pillars of story, parkour, and combat make up Mirror's Edge Catalyst. While it isn't perfect, I like the way it handles the more personal tale of Faith this time around, and when the push-forward combat works, it works really well. Lastly, the open-world city of Glass is a great step forward for the franchise in my eyes. It allows players to experiment with different routes and find their own way around the city. Where police may have cornered you in the first game, blocking off the one intended path for the player, Catalyst lets players make their own escape in any direction throughout the city. In a future game, maybe we could see all of these aspects expanded on, but I'm not so sure we'll be getting a Mirror's Edge 3. As I've mentioned throughout this video, the Mirror's Edge franchise is developed by the wonderful people at DICE. These developers, mainly known for their work on the Battlefield franchise, are more than willing to take risks on games like Mirror's Edge. They may not make perfect games, be the quickest to patch and fix their mistakes, or even be the fastest to develop games at all, especially with the 8-year gap between installments in this series, but it's clear that they care. The people at DICE care about their work, about improving over time, and about delivering unique experiences to players around the world. DICE is probably one of the most talented AAA developers to ever work under EA, a company notorious for eliminating creativity and fun in the games that they publish. And that is exactly why Mirror's Edge 3 may never release.